Good morning, or is this afternoon? It is afternoon. Technically, it was supposed to be high noon, but we're a few minutes late. Thank you, Ambrosia and Bill, for coming today. And Tina and Jamie, thank you for being here to help moderate this motivational coaching webinar or mini course. I shall call it. The first thing that I would like to do is a quick poll. And Jamie, can you please give them the instructions to get on that poll?
Absolutely. So if you go to the bottom right of your screen, you'll see some icons. The one on the furthest right is a triangle, square, and circle, which is your activities icon. Click on the activities icon, and then your second option from the top will be polls. If you click on that, you should see a poll that asks for your level of experience with motivational coaching. So click an answer. Your name will not be shared, but just click on an answer and then vote. Click on vote. And once you've voted, you should be able to see the different responses.
Okay. So we have, hello, I'm new here, and I have training and use it sometimes. Can you see those results?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to end the poll. And I'm going to ask people who are here with us today, based on how you answered, if you want to just unmute if you can. If you can't, go into the chat box and answer this question. If you answered that you were a newbie, what is your motivation for joining us today? If you answered that you have training but not implemented, I don't think we had anybody to do that. And then have training and use it sometimes, what support do you need or want to deepen your practice? So feel free to unmute yourself. Hi, Thomasina, welcome.
So I am, of course, looking at the chat. So if you want to put your answers in the chat, I can relay those. Or, as Peggy said, you can unmute. All right, so Ambrosia says, I was a math teacher in the program for 2 years, and last year we were changed to coaches for our students. So I'm looking for strategies and ways to be more effective.
Excellent.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you about how that transition was made and how we can support you at Propel with your transition.
Yeah, Peggy, I answered the way I did. Basically because of the situation we're in, teaching an asynchronous online class. When I interact with the students, yes, coaching is definitely to the forefront. But a lot of times the class goes on without interaction for maybe a day or so. Does that make sense?
Would you like to say more about it?
If it were to change, I enjoyed coaching when it was face to face because you are there 100%, you know. Online in this virtual environment that we're in, you know, the profile seems to, we step back a little bit, I think.
Yes, I can understand that challenge.
Definitely.
Thomasina, do you have anything to add to your experience around coaching?
And she might be typing in the chat. We don't have anything in the chat.
Okay.
This is Ambrosia. I got my mic to work, just not the video.
Yay!
So Bill is wondering if the change to coaches was in name only. I'm assuming that's a question for Ambrosia.
Yes.
Not necessarily. I think just for us to be most efficient with what we were doing, especially because of how slow it was to have students coming back in person and things like that during COVID, and to take some of the workload off of Christy Green at the time, because she was like keeping tabs on all students all pretty much by herself. So since we were so slow with having in-person students, we split up the caseload. And then at that point, we would still teach. But instead of math, then I started teaching all subjects. And then also checking in with students weekly, like my caseload, checking in with them, trying to keep them motivated, offering tutoring. So the role did change to some extent.
I see. I see. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and if I disappear at some point, I do have 2 students, so I was trying to listen into this at the same time, but in case I disappear, it's because I have students.
Okay, thanks for letting us know.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to do a quick, I chose this topic about what's in it for me because as I'm talking to instructors and teachers, and I mean, even K through 12 teachers, it's like this COVID and going online and trying to get back to in person, and everything has just like thrown this crazy wrench into the educational field. And a lot of people are feeling really overwhelmed. And so when I looked at coaching, and if you go into Google Scholar and do a quick search, you can get over 500,000 hits pretty quickly about the positive benefits of academic coaching for students. Now, if you ask for anything about teachers, and I had to write this many different ways to try to get some hits, and I got like one hit that I thought was pretty relevant, but it kept going into sports coaching. It kept going into instructional coaching, as in one teacher coaching another teacher, and not so much about what the benefits of the for the teacher in implementing a coach approach. And so I think that as I'm talking to teachers that I'm just naturally curious, and every time that someone says I'm a teacher, I'm like, "Oh," and we just start chatting about all this. And I think teachers many times feel like they have to know all these things. I mean, Ambrosia just told us I was teaching only math, and now all of a sudden I'm teaching all subjects, and then all of a sudden I'm checking in with them and making sure and trying to keep them motivated. And so sometimes teachers wear many hats, right? We're all these different expectations on instructors today. And, as you look at this picture and the previous picture, just for a second, I want you to think about the hats that you do wear in your current role, and also which do you choose or which were thrust upon you or maybe expected of you as we move into this discussion of coaching. Because being a motivational coach, I never want you to feel as an instructor that it's one more thing I got to do. It's one more hat I got to wear. It's another tool for my toolbox. Or it's any of these things. So look at these pictures. This is all things that coaching is not, but teaching maybe is. So take a couple of minutes to type into the chat and think, which of these roles do you currently perform in your regular job? And are they specifically expected of you based on your job description? And you can go ahead and press enter whenever you want. Hi, Nancy. Welcome. Thomasina, glad you enjoyed as a refresher. So Ambrosia says, Mrs. Know-It-All, good thing for YouTube. Yeah, we'll be on YouTube in a minute. I feel the same way. And Thomasina says, at this point, know-it-all, since your title has changed. Do you want to say some more about that, Thomasina? If you want to. And Bill, I feel like Lucy sometimes. Yeah. And Jamie, I do not teach, but in my role as program director, I am definitely performing the job of cheerleader, coach, know-it-all, and therapist for the staff. Are you certified to do all those things?
Well, I was on dance team in high school, so maybe I'm certified to be a cheerleader.
Started out as data tech and now I'm coordinator. Yay, haha. I'm not sure. Is that a facetious answer? Are you really happy about it? Any other comments here before we move on? So I am going to try to show this YouTube video. It has captions. So earlier the audio would not work for me. So if it does not, we're going to just go ahead and read the captions, please.
A man found a cocoon of butterfly. One day, a small opening appeared. He sat and watched the butterfly for several hours as it struggled to force its body through the little hole at the end. Eventually, the butterfly stopped making progress. It appeared as it had gotten as far as it could, and it could go no further. The man decided to help the butterfly, so he took a pair of scissors and snipped off the remaining a bit of cocoon. The butterfly then emerged easily, but it had a swollen body and small, shriveled wings. The man continued to watch the butterfly because he expected that at any moment the wings would enlarge and expand to be able to support the body, which would contract in time. Neither happened. In fact, the butterfly spent the rest of its life crawling around with the swollen body and shriveled wings. It never was able to fly. What the man, in his kindness and haste, did not understand that was that restricting cocoon and struggle required for a butterfly to get through the tiny opening where the nature ray of fluid from the body of the butterfly into its wings, so that it would be ready for the flight once it achieved the freedom from its cocoon. Sometimes struggles are exactly what we need in our lives. If nature allowed us to go through our life without any obstacle, it would triple us. We would not be strong as we could have been, and we could never fly. A man found a cocoon of butterfly.
So, for the butterfly story, I saw this one day and I thought, wow, that so applies to coaching and teaching because I know before I learned coaching years ago when I was teaching and tutoring, it would hurt me to see my students struggle. I wanted to jump in there and help them. And coaching really helped me to take that step back and honor the struggle. It's the process, not the product. It's the learning. There's even learning and benefits in failing. And so I always wanted to get in there and help them and figure it out. And by nature, I'm a problem solver and I'm an activator, and it gets me in trouble sometimes. Um, Even in my friendships or in my relationships, like I'm having a struggle with my one of my best friends right now because I got this great idea and I jumped into it, and I ended up insulting her. um, it's a long story, but I ended up insulting her and she's really upset with me. And so it's because I was trying to solve a problem with her and it made her feel helpless. And she said that I made her feel stupid, and not only that, I got another friend involved. So that was even worse because I was like, "Come on, let's go rescue her." And she's still upset with me and we're working on it, but that's my nature. So as a teacher and as an advisor and as a tutor, that's always been my nature to jump in and save people and help them and tan taran to the rescue. And so, however, that was also very stressful. And so learning coaching has helped me to stop that mostly. But I wanted to talk about when I said that coaching is not another hat, it's not another tool, it's really a philosophy. And so it's an approach to whatever you do, and a philosophy. And this motivational coach approach and philosophy holds that the foundation is that all people are natural, creative, and resourceful and whole. So people aren't broken and helpless, and maybe they're in a situation right now that's not the best or that's not helpful to them. However, we have to believe as coaches that they are able, and that they can solve their own problems. They can create their own successes. They can come up with their own ideas. We employ cultural humility and non judgment. Um, Being that, my way is not always the best. We have to be self aware about our own biases that we have and that we express. A quick example is that go into the teacher's lounge and in any college, and you'll hear instructors talking about all the students that are only there for financial aid and then they quit as soon as they get their check. And when I worked as a financial aid officer, I would always counter that. And I was like, actually, the data shows that only 7% of students dropped out right after getting the day of the check, but they're like, all these students, and it creates this bias and this stereotype that is not good. And so holistic and strengths based means that we don't just teach them math. This is a full person. We're not just inputting math into a brain. This person has a stomach. If they're hungry, they might not be ready to learn. They have a heart. If they're worried, if they're upset, if they're heartbroken, they may not be ready to learn. Um, this unconditional positive regard goes along with the naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And it's about always thinking the best of our students. And that doesn't mean like we're a cheerleader. You can do it. I know you can. It's about really honestly honoring them by asking questions and not giving them advice. You honor their values, you honor their priorities without judging them because they are the expert in their own life. You might be an expert in math, you might be an expert in adult ed, you might be an expert in the subject, of course, which is what we expect you to be at working in adult education, but you're not an expert in these people's lives. And as much as we have learned and experienced, in 20 years or X amount of years that we've been working in this field, every person is an individual. and they're an expert in their own life. And we may have seen patterns along the way. However, it's so important to view each person as an individual. Offering support instead of help. It's a small distinction, but it's an important one. And we're going to do a whole webinar on that later. And giving advice is something else that we don't do. And there's actually skills, tools, and strategies that we learn in order to be able to do this. You know, we have to buy into this approach and the philosophy first. And then we'll learn the skills, tools, and strategies in order to help us employ those philosophies within our work. Some of these are following core competencies. There's actually models and theories that we'll talk about later on. And then we'll give you some actual tools to help students um, as they go along. And up front, you can actually say, wait, I have so much to do already. How am I going to coach them? Well, you know what? On the first day, you can do a syllabus. Okay, talk about this syllabus. Talk about expectations. Okay, these are all my expectations. It's not about lowering any kind of expectations that the instructor has. These are my expectations. Okay, how do you feel you're going to fit this into your life right now? That's a really important, powerful question because they're like, oh, wow, came back to school. Yeah, this is for reals. Um, this is a lot of expectations. This is a lot of time. And so, how am I going to fit this into my life from day one? Set up not these expectations, these strategies. How am I going to fit this in? Like, specifically, how am I going to pull out a calendar and, write time in? Am I going to stop? In order to start this, what am I going to stop? So start, stop. What do I continue? Who can support me? Who can sabotage me? And how am I going to deal with that should that happen? There's all these different ways to help people, support people. You caught me. From the beginning by using this coach approach to prepare for success. And the top of this pyramid is the construction conversation that happens with coaching. It's a constructive conversation. It's not a, hey, how you doing? It's not just like, I think you need to vent. It's not like, you cry on my shoulder. This is a constructive conversation based on finding out what is the current situation and how can it be, what can you do, a specific action plan to improve the situation, and then how to provide this accountability. So, if there's no action plan and there's no accountability within this conversation, it's not a coaching conversation. It may be a great chat, it may be a great supportive time with the student, but it's not a coaching conversation unless there is a plan for action and a plan for accountability. And you might be saying, huh? How am I gonna do all that? What is all that? How is that gonna make my job easier? I promise you, if you start using these techniques and if they can become secondhand to you, and those of you that are managers in 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 your programs or coordinators, using coaching with your staff really is so much easier than being directive. And I will just do a very quick example. When I was a campus director at CNM in the South Valley, and the vice president called me and said, we're going to start opening till 7 p.m. and we're going to open on Saturday morning and you don't have any more hours. So change your staff schedules. And I was like, I spent like 3 days saying, oh my God, they're going to kill me. They're going to be so upset. They're going to, oh my gosh, who am I going to get to work on Saturday? Who am I going to? And so I did like a million different, mapped it out in Excel and spreadsheets. I tried 20 different ways this week, next week, once a day, this, trying to figure out how I could make this fair, and I couldn't do it. And so I walked out there and I said, "Huddle." And they all huddled around me. There was like 5 of them, and I said, "Okay, the VP called. These are our new hours. So y'all figure it out and let me know." And I went back in my office. An hour and a half later, they came in with a schedule. And one of them told me, "I'm so happy. My son just started kindergarten and I wanted to be kindergarten mom once a week. So I'm going to come on Saturday morning," which um, my partner always takes care of the kids on Saturday morning. "So I'm going to come in on Saturday morning and now I'm going to get to be kindergarten mom every Wednesday." And someone else said, "Yeah, I have to go to physical therapy and I'm almost out of sick leave. So now I'm going to be coming in at 10 o'clock every day." And I mean, they just like boom, 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 worked it out. I had no idea. I felt kind of bad. These are my staff. I didn't know she was in physical therapy. I knew the baby was starting kindergarten, but I hadn't taken that next step to think about them implementing these transitions in their lives and what they were doing. But when I stepped back and let them do it, they figured it out and it was great. And there was no conflict. Nobody was upset. Nobody felt like anything was unfair because I trusted them to be the expert in their own lives and to be able to figure it out. And that made my job like a million times easier. Like I wasted like 3 days stressing out about it. And then I was like, duh, why didn't you just like coach from the beginning and let them figure it out for themselves? Any comments?
I actually put it in the chat, but that is a seriously powerful story coming from somebody else who is a supervisor. So thank you for that. That was a really, really great example.
Thank you.
Well, Peggy, I think it worked out because you let them make their own decision. That was their decision. It had to work.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if you're at all like me, where you want to make everyone happy and you want to be the one that solves, like you said, you're a problem solver, right? I am the same way. You want to just fix everything. And sometimes we don't have all the information we need. Sometimes we don't have all the tools that we need. And so having them do it themselves. I mean, you said you spent 3 days working on it and it took them an hour and a half to come up with something that made everyone happy, which is so great.
Yes. And we can apply that in many situations. Many situations. So, this is what coaching is. It is that pyramid that I showed you. But the main premise of it is that the coach does not need to know all the answers. As an instructor, you need to know the answers or you need to know how to get to the answers. So it's very important not to confuse the two, being an instructor and being a coach, because I'm not asking you not to be a teacher. I'm asking you to think about the outside things that affect a student's success. Okay, so someone is unable to spend the time to get on an online platform that you're using. And you're just like, oh, they never get on, and that's why they're not progressing or whatever. And so thinking about that's not your specific teaching. That's about a life situation that is not allowing that to implement that. And so with coaching, you can help them. And again, set it up from the beginning. And they create this plan. I'm going to do this, this, and this. So when it comes out that they're not getting on that online platform, just as an example, you can say, okay, I can tell that you haven't been on. So sh- do we need to change your plan? Because this plan was made, but it's not working. Did you get that distinction? The plan is not working. You're not saying the student is not working, the person is failing, the plan is failing. So, how can we tweak that plan to make it more doable for your life? And so, right there and then, that's not insulting the person, that's not shaming the person, that's saying we need to we need to tweak the plan. Somebody just tried to get in and I pressed to let them in. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I let her in. Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, again, the coach doesn't have to solve the problem. You don't have to come up with a million different ways that the student can change their life so that they can get on that online program, and you're not responsible for the outcomes. Just like my story earlier about the new hours at work, you know, I wasn't responsible for making somebody work on Saturday and getting them mad at me. And so it's like, whew, you know, and it's because I didn't have everybody's information. How would I know that my one of my staff's partner was responsible every Saturday for the children, you know? And so because I don't have all the information and I don't come up with the ideas and the plan, I'm not responsible for the outcome. So guess what? I can't get blamed either. So if you're not responsible for the outcome of this plan or for making up this plan or coming up with this idea, then you're not responsible for the outcome either. And I'll just give you another really quick example. I don't want to take up all the time, but I had a student that came in and said that she was going to drop out. And so I told her, um, you know, what's going on? And she's like, well, my mom had a stroke and I'm taking care of her, and none of my brothers want to help me. And, she just started crying. She was really upset. And she's like, I keep telling my brothers they need to come and take their turn, but they feel like they're too embarrassed to change her diaper. And I tell them that they need to do it or whatever. And so I was like, in what different ways could they help? And she sat there and she's like, well, they all have money. I wonder if they could pay somebody to do their shift, you know? And I was like, what do you think? And then it turned into yeah, I'm going to call a family meeting and I'm just going to tell them, how can you help me? Instead of telling them, it's your responsibility to come and help me change mom's diaper. And she came back to me the next week and she said, I'm going to stay in school. She said, because one of her brothers, the wife decided that she would come and do it. And she was okay with taking care of the mom and giving her dignity for that part. Another one decided that he was going to hire a nurse. Another one decided, and so the whole family came together. Again, it wasn't me telling her, I felt like telling her, well, you need to tell her it's not fair, blah, 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 blah. And oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That's so hard. I pity you so much. And when you're ready, come back to school. You know, it's about just asking them a question to make them think about things in a different way. I apologize if that was triggering. That's something that I'm going through with my family right now. Also taking care of elderly parents. And so I think that's something that's really important in the beginning as we talk with students is asking them what's your why? They're here, they're sitting in this chair, they're here today. Again, you start with that coaching philosophy in the beginning. Ask them, what is your why? You showed up here today, right on. You're in this desk, you're online today. The first thing I did is ask you guys about your experience and then ask you to tell, why are you here today? What do you want to learn? What do you want to deepen? And get that connection. Have them get the connection. Sometimes they say, "Oh, I have to because my probation officer made me." Okay. And you chose to comply with this requirement on you, you know. And so it is your choice still to be here today. And so what do you want to make of it? How do you want to be successful setting up things? And when we learn their why, we can go back to it. It can be on their plan. Um, I've never done like this little contract with students, but I have some coaching tools that we do a plan up front that we go through. And then every time there's going to be a major project or a major test, pull out your plan. You can have it online, it can be whatever, something that they can see, you can print it, whatever. Come back to your plan. Remember your plan every now and then. It's a living, breathing document. You can change it anytime, but it's important to remember it often as you plan to be successful. Plan a project. They're coming up to their test. They're going to do their 40-hour assessment, whatever it is. Thinking about that plan again. And so as you do these, use this coach approach and use these coaching tools, what you're doing is, earlier we talked about all these different roles, being Superman, being Atlas, holding the weight of the world. Like, how often do we feel that way? And when we do take ownership of other people's lives and plans and responsibilities and outcomes, we do have the weight of the world on our back. Oh my gosh, how many of you have this tension right here and right here? It's that weight of the world. And when we start allowing people to come up with their own solutions and support them in creating their own ideas and plans, what we're doing is we're shifting that responsibility. We're taking off that weight from ourselves. And so that right there is how learning to coach makes your job easier. It's shifting that responsibility to the responsible party, because guess what? I've been married for 34 years, and the number one thing I've learned is that you can't make anybody do anything. And boy, do I wish I knew how to do that sometimes. But no matter what you say, no matter what idea, no matter what brilliance comes out of your mouth, you cannot make anybody do anything. So, you can support them as they learn what they want to do for themselves. And then guess what? You don't have to be the brilliant one. You don't have to come up with all the answers. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to know answers at all. You just have to ask questions that help them figure it out for themselves. And that way, you're moving the responsibility. You're changing the weight, moving the responsibility to the person that it's their own life. And like, how many times has someone come to you with some sort of issue, problem, whatever, and instantly you know what they need to do? Instantly. And that's what my natural state of being is. Learning coaching has helped me to bite my tongue and say, okay, you don't know. You don't know their life. You don't know all the situations. You don't know the mitigating circumstances. And so what you think might work best for you, um, th- uh, will not work for all people, and may even be impossible for someone. Something that may be easy for you may be impossible for someone else. Um, any comments? I'm the type of facilitator that doesn't like to listen to myself for too long. So any other voices, I love to be interrupted. So please ask me questions. You have comments. If you think this is a bunch of BS, I welcome that too. Good stuff. Thank you, Ambrosia.
And of course, please feel free to unmute. I think that's what, you were
Yes,
saying all along, Peggy.
yes,
Feel free
yes.
to unmute.
Feel free to unmute and jump in here. Especially if you have used coaching and you have an example to share with us. That would be great. So, if learning how to coach or deepening your understanding and your practice sounds good to you, I retired October of 2021, and I took a little time off, and there was some transitions within Propel. So we're ready to go full steam ahead again. And so these upcoming professional learning opportunities that we're going to have, and this today I consider a motivational coaching mini course. So every first Wednesday of the month at this time. And on the survey, please let us know if this is not a good time for you, and we'll look at them and see if we need to do some tweaking. Um, and then every third Wednesday of the month, we're going to have I'll jump on me, and I'm not going to have anything prepared. I just want you to come with your questions, with your examples, with anything that you want to discuss about coaching to deepen all of our learning. Whoops. And then we're going to have a full training course. It's going to be hybrid, and it's going to be live in person in the classroom. Yay! I can't wait to get back to that. I so prefer that so much to this, to online. But part one will be a 2 full days in person, and then part two will be online after that for 4 weeks. We're hoping to do one in November and one in the spring, and we hope to be doing two every year. I don't know if Tina is able to explain a little bit about how a professional development calendar is going to work, um, coming up with this will be on a cycle with teaching skills that matter and training from the back of the room and coaching. And there's the fourth one, but I can't think of it for right now. Excuse me. And then in spring of 22, we're going to have a full asynchronous virtual course in coaching, but there will be interactive portions. We're going to have a classroom in Google Meet that people will have access to. Um, I really feel like learning coaching is really experiential, and should be interactive. And so I will be offering support to people at any time. I'm Peggy at nmdelt.org. Madeline says, I love this. Great, Madeline. I hope to be seeing you throughout, and maybe hopefully at an in-person course. Tina, are you with us right now? Or Jamie, do you have anything to share about our Propel intentions for the next year through the Propel project?
I'm here. So I'll start and then turn it over to Jamie. So we have a lot coming this year, and especially using the professional learning portal and having all of the courses there. And I know that Peggy's going to walk you through how to get registered for that and how to make sure you get, and I'm putting this in quotes, credit for attending the webinar. So eventually the whole system will lead to a certification process. So we are looking at having a very robust system of professional development that includes many ways of participation. So today is just one of those. And as Peggy mentioned, we have the motivational coaching going on, the teaching skills that matter, training from the back of the room. The NMDELT team is providing tech talks and English as a second language or other language webinars. So we will have those regular monthly webinars and workshops going on, in addition to face-to-face trainings and getting back to that. And the asynchronous offerings that will be available in the portal. So you'll see more and more things being developed throughout the year. And we have appreciated and continue to appreciate any feedback or ideas, suggestions you have about building this professional development system. We're looking to be a national model. We're already doing some things that other states aren't. And this series of webinars and the way we do them is a part of that. So we're just very excited about it. Jamie, would you like to talk a little bit more about Tech Talks and other things we're doing? Oh, and who runs the PD system?
Oh, yes. So, of course, on a bigger picture, the New Mexico Adult Education Association, NMEA, is now overseeing the professional development system. So, Tina is the professional development coordinator. She is, dedicating full time to the professional development system in New Mexico. We are partnering, of course, with the New Mexico Higher Education Department on this. And so, everything that you see that's coming from Propel, that's coming from, any of these mini courses, the asynchronous, the in-person trainings, all of it is being developed really by Tina in partnership with NMHED and NMEA. So if you have any suggestions, comments, thoughts, questions, you can always reach out to Tina or myself for that, and we'll be happy to discuss that with you, or consider any suggestions that you have. As far as tech talks, as Tina said, we have HSE topics as well as ELL topics, and so once a month you will get a tech talk of each kind, an HSE and an ELL tech talk, followed by a workshop. So the tech talks are meant to be, providing the information. They are interactive webinars, so of course we welcome discussion and input from the participants. And then you would have a week or two to practice what you learned in the tech talk. And then the workshop is meant to practice it as a group so that you can ask any questions of the presenter or trainer, especially if you've had a chance to try it out. That's the purpose of the workshop. So the workshops are definitely more of like working groups, and those are again, one HSE and one ELL topic every month. So please check out, and I'm going to put the website in the chat. So this is www.propelnm.org, and that is the website for Propel. Check it out. Check out the calendar regularly. We do send emails, but as you guys have seen, sometimes those emails get delayed because everybody's doing a million things. So check out the calendar, because those are always up there, so you can see what is coming up, and all of the login information is in the calendar invite and all of that. So definitely check out the website. And last little tiny plug I'm going to make is please save the date for October 28th. That is going to be a virtual Teachers Institute. So we're going to have that. The call for presenters is going to be going out very soon as well. So if you have an idea of a presentation that you would like to give, absolutely, that's what the Teachers Institute is for. We are only looking for local teachers doing presentations on instructional best practices or anything else that you would like to share. Yes, it's going to be so awesome. So please save the date, Friday, October 28th. It will be held via Zoom. It will be virtual. Hopefully next year it can be in person, but this year it will also be virtual. So I think that is it for my announcements or information.
Thank you so much, Tina and Jamie. And I know that you all have been working for a long time in the backgrounds to provide these opportunities to professionalize and legitimize this career that we've all chosen. And it just excites me so much to think about certification. And, I get going with Tina and I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to have like standard orientation for everyone in the state of New Mexico. And they can, someone that can take these certificates with them when they move, and people know, oh, this person was trained, got some great training and some great professional learning and opportunities. And oh, it's just so exciting to me. I just love it. Um, that's what I got my master's degree in organizational learning. So every time I meet with Tina and we need to talk about a coaching webinar, here I go into all this admin stuff. And I was like, oh, we've been talking 3 hours. Better get back to what we're going to put on this slide. But anyway, this is what the portal looks like. And I'm going to ask you, even you probably just jumped on the meet link from the calendar or from the email. And I thank you so much. And first of all, I apologize for getting you this notice so late. the grant came in and we started at the end of August and we were kind of like scrambling and I anyway, I apologize for getting the notice too late and I so appreciate you all rolling with it and jumping in on the last minute. Now you're going to know every first and third Wednesday is for coaching at noon. But please go to Propel New Mexico. You sign into the portal that way. I believe that you can still, Jamie, can they still sign in and get credit for today's webinar?
I'm going to actually ask Tina about that. I know we were still working on it. I'm not sure if that has been
Okay.
confirmed yet.
So we know who's here today, and we'll
Yes.
make sure that if you're not able to do it on your end, that we can do it on our end.
Yep.
And get you. Whoops, here's the thing. There'll be a recording in the portal. So if you ever are unable to meet with us at noon, but still want to get the information, you can watch a recording. And please, please, please take the time out to do a webinar survey. And I love it when you say, you're great, you're the best ever. However, like I would like it more if people would tell me, I was expecting this, or I'd like to see some more of this, or something that I can really learn from to improve my webinars. And so this was for today, professional learning opportunities, first and third Wednesday. And how many of you have done, can you raise your hand and see how many of you have done the training from the back of the room? Couple have? Okay. Because this flyer that I did was uh, the original flyer. The other flyer that I did was really whimsical with curly cues and pink and orange. And then I looked at it, like I stayed up all night thinking, what was I thinking? That didn't look professional. And so then I created this other one. And then Tina's like, remember, different trumps same. So we want to show different things also, not have everything looking cookie cutter. So maybe that'll catch somebody's attention so that they'll see that it's not the same old thing all the time. So anyway, that's my little plug. So we have about 3 minutes left. In one word or one sentence, unmute yourself and say, was it worth your time to come here today and why? Why or why not?
As always, you can unmute or put your answer in the chat.
Yes. I think Ambrosia's trying to talk, but I don't know if it's working.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm glad that I came today, and just the smallest thing of turning the way that we think of the things, like you said, listening and then turning it into a question rather than offering an answer or what would be our answer. That just really got me thinking. So that was great.
Excellent. Thank you. Here's a chat from Bill. Well worth the time. Hit the high points, which was a much needed review. Thanks, Bill. It was good to see you. Madeline can't unmute. That's all right, Madeline. If you'd like to put something in the chat, that'll work. Or not. Tomasina says a much needed review. Thank you. Yeah, I think as lifelong learners, it's important to continue and come back and take another course. I take coaching courses all the time, and I've been teaching coaching for 7 years. And I forget things. I forget activities, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I get new learning. Okay, Ingrid says letting the student make the choice without pushing our own thoughts. Yes, yes, yes. Madeline, I like putting the responsibility onto the students once we have presented the questions and modeled for our students. Yes, I love putting the responsibility on them because then I don't have the responsibility. And then I can clock out and go home. And I don't have to stay up all night like I did last night thinking about the silly flyer, worrying that I gave the wrong advice. All right, so it is 1 o'clock. And so I hope to see all of you in 2 weeks. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues. This is recorded. It'll be in the portal if somebody else wants to watch it. And if not, I hope to see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Jamie and Tina for moderating. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Peggy, and thank you so much to everybody for attending. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.